What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. Today, I'm joined here by the Texas Rangers report. And do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit, man?
For sure. So thank you for having me on the channel. And basically, I post Texas Rangers videos every single day almost and trying to provide content to you Texas Rangers fans.
Yeah, we're definitely the two go-to YouTube sources here for some daily content for y'all. But today, we're going to be talking about lineup predictions as well as rotation predictions. I went ahead and made a couple based on a couple different scenarios, and Texas Rangers report here will chime in as well with any thoughts on these. But on his channel as well, we did make a video talking about the MLB draft. So I'll have that linked below, and y'all definitely go follow him, hit up all of his socials. So getting started, my first scenario is if the season started today and the Rangers didn't make any other signings or any trades, what would I think their lineup would be? And I'll start just by talking about who I think is going to be at what position and then what order I have it in. So I have Willie Calhoun at left field, batting first, Marcus Semien at second, batting second, Corey Seager at short, obviously, Adolis in center, Calhoun in right, Josh Young at third, Nathaniel Lowe at first, and Trevino at catcher, and then maybe Sam Huff at some point. Just really depends on
Huff at
how
DH.
it goes. Yeah. This is I have Jose at oh, sorry, I skipped one. I have Ibanez at DH, sorry. And then in the ninth spot, I have Trevino. But Huff could also be DH. It truly depends on how he heals from his surgeries there. So that's my first lineup is Calhoun, Willie Calhoun. I guess I have to specify that now. Simeon, Seager, Garcia, Cole Calhoun, Young, Lowe, Ibanez, and then Huff slash Trevino. Trevino is definitely going to be starting catcher. I'd be shocked if he wasn't. So I think if they had to start the season today, that's what they'd go with. And then as far as the rotation, I wasn't super sure about who would be in what spot because a lot of their rotation is pretty even in some ways. But I have John Gray as the ace, of course, because that's what they're paying him for now. Then
Yeah.
Dane Dunning, Colby Allard, Taylor Hearn, and I picked AJ Alexi as the number 5 spot. I don't think Glenn Otto is gonna quite make it to the full rotation this upcoming season.
I've been
What do you
talking
think?
about this on my channel a little bit, but like I still think the Rangers are going to go after two more starting pitchers, trade, free agency, whatever. So I think, in my opinion, that would probably bump out like Allard and some other some other guy. But basically, on my channel, I've been talking about the fifth spot is basically up for anybody, in my opinion. I think AJ Alexi probably needs time in the minors, but good spring training, maybe. Glenn Otto, maybe. Spencer Howard, maybe. I think that fifth spot could really be up for almost anybody. And if Cole Winn, maybe he has a good spring training. I mean, probably not because they want to manipulate the service time. But if the new CBA comes out and service time manipulation isn't a thing, you never know. We may see Cole Winn. I doubt it, but just look at all those like kind of prospect guys. Those could be the fifth spot.
Yeah, and that's the thing. One, however, the CBA turns out, and then there's just so many options for the fifth slot. But that's just my prediction as of today. Now, my second scenario is if they do go out and sign some people, and I have a few things within that one. But the main one, and it's the one I think is the most realistic, is if they go out and sign the outfielder Suzuki from Japan, because he will likely be posted as soon as this lockout ends. He was supposed to be posted in like December, but obviously with the lockout, they waited on that. But in this scenario, I have Willie Calhoun at DH leading off, and then Simeon at second, Seager at short, Garcia in center, Cole Calhoun in right. And then, of course, Suzuki would take over in left field in this scenario. Young at third, Lowe at first, and then at the bottom would be Trevino. There's lots of factors when predicting these lineups as well, because they'll change it given whoever the starting pitcher is, of course. But I
exactly.
think in most scenarios, this would be one you would see, and they would of course alternate Suzuki and Calhoun or whoever they want to DH that specific day. Maybe like you said, if they want to get Huff some at bats because his bat is pretty good, then have him DH and give someone a day off. Lots of platooning options there.
I have a quick question. Do you have IKF as like a utility role, or did you use him as like a trade, or
Yeah, I think at the moment he would be utility slash bench. It just he would probably
kind
be
of like fill in for whatever,
yeah, because he's incredibly versatile, as we know, won multiple or should have won multiple gold gloves and all that. But it just depends if they trade him. I know
Yeah.
the Yankees had interest before the lockout as well, and he has very high trade value. So
Yeah, I
we'll see
know.
how that goes. But
I don't know if the Rangers should trade IKF. Like that's the like he could probably be a really good utility infielder, outfielder. Because if you look at Chris Woodward, he's a Dodgers guy. And who's a good utility player on the Dodgers? That's Chris Taylor. Do you think he's trying to mold him into Chris Taylor? I don't know. But he only has 2 years of club control remaining. So what's the point of having him for 2 years if he's gonna probably walk in free agency? Should you use his value to the highest and get some prospects? That's what I'm still trying to figure out. But if he's a utility player, I probably think it's good. If Josh Young isn't ready, he could probably still be our starting third baseman.
yeah, I agree, and that's just I'm hoping for Young to be
Me
ready
too.
in
Me too.
this situation, but of course we never know how that will go in the spring. And with my first lineup having Ibanez in there, he was very good last year in his time. So I think they do need to keep getting him some at bats as well. It's a great situation to be in because you almost have too many good players in a sense. You want to get all these guys playing time, but at some point they do have to make the decisions. And more than likely, as you said, guys will just be in AAA instead of being on the bench.
Yeah, and I didn't even realize how like Ibanez didn't have a great season, but I didn't realize how decent of a season he had last year.
Yep.
And let's say the Rangers add a few more players like Suzuki, and then I don't know, just some other guy. If you use him as a platoon with Cole Calhoun, because Calhoun against righties he's above average, against lefties he's below average. Just look at his stats on Fangraphs. But if you platoon him with Cole Calhoun, that could be a scenario where he would play. I'm not too sure. DH potentially, because we don't really have a solidified DH. I mean, maybe it's Willie Calhoun. But yeah, I definitely think those are some really good lineups for sure.
And it will be exciting to see really any combination of those. Because everyone strongly predicts us to get Suzuki, but once again, you never know when it actually comes down to it.
Yeah.
Um, so as far as the lineups, that's all I had for those. And then I made two more rotations. One is a realistic addition, and the other one is like a dream one, which they probably wouldn't do. But of course, my second rotation is signing Clayton Kershaw. Everyone's wanting it to happen. It seems like it's got a decent chance. Just really is a matter of convincing him to actually do it.
Yeah, I think it's either the Rangers or the Dodgers for him. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. Either stay with the team he's been with or come home to Dallas and be closer to his kids and all that. So with that, you got to put Kershaw in the one spot, and then John Gray at two, Dane Dunning at three. And then I kept Allard in. He just needs to be more consistent, but I still think he has good potential. So I have Allard at four. And then in this one, I kept Taylor Hearn at five. But that fifth spot, even the fourth spot, really, those two are so interchangeable with so many guys, like we talked about, even as far as win, but more likely someone like Hearn or Alexi. And my last rotation is if they got either Luis Castillo, Sonny Gray, or Tyler Mahle. And I don't think that's happening. It would be fantastic, but they don't want to get too far ahead of their window. Once that competitive window is open, they can do what they did in 2015 and 16 and go out and trade for guys like when they got Cole Hamels and they got I can't remember the guy's name who's the catcher now. Jonathan Lucroy, right?
Yeah. he
Okay,
fell off quick. He fell off quick. I
he
also
did.
remember Carlos Beltran trade from the Yankees, I
Oh
believe.
my God, that was not a good trade.
Although those were the days whenever we were winning.
Yeah, that'll have to be another video sometime. But anyway, if that were the rotation, I would still keep Clayton Kershaw at first, and then I would have either Castillo, Gray, or Melly at second, whoever they ended up getting, and then in the third, fourth, and fifth spots would be John Gray, Dane Dunning, and still a question mark about the fifth spot.
Yeah. I think that fifth spot is like we have players just go earn it in spring training, you know?
Yeah, that's really all it comes down to. They have a ton of options, especially with all the guys they just got from trading Gibson and from the Gallo trade. Lots of guys to pick from. But that is about all I have for that. Or is there anything else you wanted to add to
Yeah,
that?
I have a few questions for you. So if we don't get Suzuki, who should we target as an outfielder? And then also, um, would say let's say we go after Castillo because I'm okay giving up like a few prospects for Castillo or Sonny Gray or something. But would you rather Castillo over Olson? And let's say we get a contract extension done.
Yeah, so that's another thing I didn't even mention was the potential of Olson. I don't know how serious they were about that, but that kind of goes back to what I was mentioning before about they don't want to get too far ahead of this competing thing because if they have this stacked team this year, like let's say they get all of those guys, they might still only win 70 to 80 games because the younger guys haven't had enough time to get ready and there's just not enough time for this team to play together. But if they don't get Suzuki, it's I don't think it's super realistic, but they could try to get Castellanos if they really want to trade some guys.
I think for me, I'd go after Kyle Schwarber because he doesn't have a qualifying offer. Yes, he isn't that great in the field. Although you've already signed two players with a qualifying offer, and then Castellanos would be a third, and you lose another draft pick. So for me, it's Kyle Schwarber. But I think Seiya Suzuki I think outfield definitely has to be um one priority in starting pitching has to be another. And then another thing that I think can still be up for grabs, even if we sign Kershaw, I think another innings eater to be like the third guy. So some guys I've looked at are some bounce back candidates like Matt Boyd, Zach Davies, those type of guys.
Yeah, and I guess if they sign Schwarber as well, that will fix the DH situation because he'll probably DH 9 times out of 10, especially being on an American League squad where he doesn't have to play the field unless they want him to.
Yeah, for sure.
So it will be exciting, but as I keep saying in all my videos, we got to get through this freaking lockout first before we can really start digging into this. But I appreciate you joining me here today, man.
Thank you for
Y'all be
having.
sure to go check out his channel, hit him up, follow all his socials and all that. But that is all I have for y'all today. And also go check out the video we did on his channel. Forgot to
Yes.
mention that. Definitely go check that out. It was a good
If you're
discussion.
ever curious about who the Rangers might target with the third pick in the draft, go check out that video.
Yep, for sure. So thanks again to y'all for watching, and we'll talk to y'all later.